Hey, roommates. Oh, we already got something saying trying to reconnect. Hey, roommates. Good evening. Come on in. Come on in. Happy Wednesday. Hey, roommates. Hey, y'all. Come on in. Come on in. Can you guys hear me? Hi there. Hey, Brown Fox. Hey, y'all. Trying to set it up where I can see y'all comments. Hello, hello. Come on in, roommates. Let me know if you can hear me with a little hearts. Or some hearts or some thumbs up. Hey, y'all. Come on in. Okay, I think I can see y'all comments now. Give me a few thumbs up to let me know you can hear me. Hey, Instagram, I see you guys. Hey, what's up, what's up, what's up? I see y'all. All right, so we are going to jump on in. Good evening again, and happy Wednesday. I don't know why, honey, these weeks and days are just running into each other. But thankful to be here, okay? And so, all right, I see the thumbs up. Hey, y'all. Good. All right, so let's jump on in. And so tonight, roommates, we are going to be talking about changing things, right? Changing our environments, our mindsets, our lives. And essentially, this starts with our perspective, right? The way that we view things, the mindset. And so today we're going to delve into that. And now, this conversation may be a little deep, a little steep, simply because, anytime we talk about transformation and transforming, sometimes that could be hard, right? And the act of it definitely can be so difficult and oftentimes painful, okay? I knew it oh so well. And so, thank you guys. And so, tonight we're going to delve into that, and we're going to talk about it and just get some things off our chest. I do have a few questions that I'm going to pose to you guys, kind of like in between segment, because we're going to break things down, changing the environment, the mindset, perspective in our lives. And so we'll look at all of those things individually, but then also collectively as well, okay? And so what does transformation look like? It looks like we have to change some things that may be going on around us. But I'll tell you this, even before we can shift things that goes on outside of us, a lot of our changes and a lot of the things that we can shift and have control over are those things that are internal. And today I'm really going to focus in, those internal things that we can do to make those transformations and those changes feel a little bit more easy, right? And have it not be so tough, because we can control those things internally, those thoughts, and I swear it's a mindset shift that it takes. But I promise you, those are the things we're going to talk about tonight, okay? And so we're going to talk about how changing our environments, our mindset, and our perspectives can actually completely change our lives, right? And then I just told you guys a moment ago, the truth of all of this is that we cannot shift anything that is external from us. So it's going to take that internal shift, that internal work for us to kind of get to those places that we want to be. All right, so I'm going to kick us off per usual with a biblical reference. And it's going to come to us from Romans 12:2. And it says, hey, Sherelle, how you doing? And it reminds us that be transformed by renewing of your mind. Okay, so that's Bible. Romans 12:2. And essentially what that tells us is that transformation doesn't start with a new job. It doesn't start with a new relationship, nor does it start with a new zip code. It starts with that transformation of our mindset. Okay? And so the first thing I'm going to talk about, guys, is the power of perspective. Okay? And I'm looking at comments on Facebook, guys. Sorry for being distracted. I have to shift between Facebook and Instagram. And so before we jump into that power of perspective, I want to pose a question. So I'm going to pose this question to you all right now. Then we're going to go through some of these, what that power of perspective looks like. And then I'm going to ask that question again. But if that question resonates with you as we're going through, then you can, start to drop your responses in the chat, okay? And we'll go from there. And so the first question that I'm going to pose to you guys as it relates to the power of perspective is, what perspective or perspectives have been limiting your peace or your ability to transition? I know that may sound twofold, but what perspectives has been limiting your peace and your ability to transition? All right, since we set that groundwork, right, and we had that question on the table, let's talk a little bit about what perspective is. It's that lens through which we view life, okay? It's how we interpret our experiences, people, the pain, right, that may be associated, and even our purpose in life. Somebody asked me last week, like, how do you know what your purpose is in life? And the best way I could describe it is that it aligns with what it is that you're working towards. And it's not hard to attain, or it's not hard to do. It generally comes easy, right? And so in responding to that, I said the obvious things about me, like helping people, teaching, being motivation to others and stuff like that, right? Hey y'all, come on in. And so those are like the obvious things. But we really do have to think about, what is our perspective and how do we see things and how do we see the things that's happening to us. So I'll give us an example. The two of us, me and you, roommate, right? We can walk through the same storm. We can walk through probably the exact same circumstance, right? You may see direction, vision very clear. You may see the glass is half full, right? Me, I'm walking through the same situation with you, but I may see it as destruction. I may see it as gloom. I may see it as a bad situation. But yet, both of us has walked through this situation basically 100%. I know we talk a lot about, walk a mile in my shoes, but say we are literally walking in the same shoes, right? And the outcome of whatever that situation is, your perspective and my perspective will be two different things. And so the power of perspectives, actually, it allows us to look at what is occurring before us and make an assessment of it. It's our perspective because we have the right to it. What am I viewing? What is it that I am taking away from this situation, right? What is it that is what is catching my eye? What is resonating in my spirit, right? And so our perspectives actually decide a couple things for us, right? So if a door is closed, do you look at that door as rejection, or do you look at that door as redirection? Now, I've said this and I've posed this question to us before, which is when we see things happening, what is it that defines that situation for us? Are we going to look at that closed door as this is a denial, this is rejection, or are we going to look at it as where this is an opportunity that wasn't for me? Now, I have to tell you, I have been extremely guilty of, if there was a no that entered into my sphere of things, I would feel like, oh man, like I would feel a sense of rejection, right? Because a no was bestowed upon me. But roommates, the more I grow perspective and the more life experiences that I have, and the more that things continue, my mindset can develop and change to situations, right? The more I can recognize that today's no's are God's no's, right? These are, it is not a direct reflection of me. I mean, I have been told no to a job for different circumstances, but I've been called back by that same company and have been offered a position that pays more, that may be in leadership versus, being in mid-management. I mean, there is an array of reasons that God, the things that God blocks out, or the things that are blocked out for us, is not always a form of rejection. In fact, at most terms, it's a form of protection. And so we really do, hey y'all, you really do have to ensure that you're trying to have a perspective and plant seeds within yourselves, right? Plant seeds so you are able to spew those positive affirmations for yourself. Because y'all know, like I know, a lot of this stuff I be talking are things we already thinking, things we are watching on reels, right? We're not reinventing the reel. The fact of the matter is that we are all going through. There's no one that is not subjected or not subjective to things that go on in the universe, okay? Hey, John, I'm so proud of you. Welcome, welcome. And so Tasha just said something about, things being our passion, and that delay does not mean a denial. So a closed door is definitely redirection, and also can be God's protection. Listen, Tasha, we here, okay? We are here. And so I agree with you. And so in those things, we really do have to understand and try to look at things. And we're going to talk about mindset in a moment. But it starts with the perspective, roommates. Believe it or not, like, how am I viewing this situation? Is this a gloomy situation, or is this a situation that I can find it to be suitable for me? Because one thing we really need to or ought to try to implement in our lives is being a chameleon. Right? Like literally like the animal, being able to adapt to things that go on around us. And a lot of those perspectives will really just be shattered as it stands, because we're not defined by these circumstances, and it can happen to anybody. And so the perspective that you have and the view that you have on the things that's happening in your life can really change the outcome, because it's power. It's pure power of life and death in the tongue. And so we really want to be careful how we view things, and also how we speak life into things, okay? And so oftentimes God isn't changing our situation. He's changing our sight, because once perspective changes, so does our posture. Okay, we sit up with, we ain't leaning and slumped over. We walking in confidence in whatever that situation may be, right? And so God is shifting and changing and redirecting things that are in us. And so we really should stop looking at everything that seems like it's so gloomy and so against us, and start to look at it in more of the dynamic of, what is the lesson? What is the lesson that I can gain from this? Okay? And so in doing that, what that means, and we're going to get to environment in just a moment. Thank you so much, John. And what we have to do is get into that mindset of standing in whatever it is that is bestowed in our lives, right? And then do the things that we need to do to shift the mindset. And so So we need to stop reacting. We need to stop reacting. So that's taking a step back, looking at the big picture, not just the pieces we want to pick out, the pieces that are comfortable, the pieces that feel safe, the pieces that, that again, we want to handpick. And we need to start responding. But we need to respond wholeheartedly. We need to respond with a level head and with a clear mind. And so that's why that piece of things is extremely important, because we are not, okay, at our big ages, we are not just out here reacting. Because when you respond, you give yourself the opportunity to have a clear mind, because you are analyzing and assessing the things that has happened. You're taking them at face value, but you're also getting an understanding of what it is, and then you're responding accordingly and hopefully efficiently and effectively. Okay, I know I may sound like a school teacher saying all this, but we just really do need to understand that. Okay, so we kind of talked about the both of us going through the same situation, but oftentimes still not being able to understand why me. Roommates, I need y'all to shift that perspective. When you're going through, or when situations are happening in your life, don't start to question God or question the universe. Everybody don't believe in God, okay? I do. God is dope and faithful, okay? I believe in God, but most people, even if you don't, people will say the universe and stuff like that. I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, religious preferences, okay? And so whatever the universe or God, we need to stop saying why me, and we need to start to address it from that other perspective of why not me. Because when we come at a situation from the perspective of why not me, we're generally coming from it from a perspective of what is the lesson? What am I to learn from this situation? Hey, y'all rolling up in here. Good night, good evening. And so that's what we need to do. We need to figure out, what is it that I'm supposed. And sometimes we be so mad and we be so angry that we cannot get the viewpoint, the perspective from another direction other than our own, right? And that's what I've really have been working on myself with, always trying to understand other people, because people really do be going through stuff. That doesn't mean excuse poor behavior, or it doesn't mean to excuse, things that you don't really appreciate happening for you. But it does mean that we really need to be mindful of, the things that's going on. So, perspective is a huge part of changing those other things that are within us, right? So, changing the perspective, and we're going to move on to mindset, okay? But let me close it out with this. Changing your perspective means shifting our focus. So changing our perspective means shifting our focus. Let's focus on something else. From what's falling apart, right? And into what is God building? What is the lesson? What is being built around me? And then from what we have lost to what are we learning? And I just said that a moment ago. And then also shift that perspective from why me to why not me. And with that, roommates, I'm going to pose that question to you again. What perspectives in your life, in your spirit right now, is limiting you, dang, that's a tongue twister, limiting you right now, right? What is it? What got your peace in the chokehold? Okay? What has your growth in a chokehold? Right? And think about how you're viewing this and how you're focusing on it. Don't focus on it too much, especially if you're not learning anything from it. Okay? Thank you, sister. God is dope. That's the brand. That's the brand, baby. And so, yes. Hey, little sister. All right, y'all. So that's perspective. All right, I'm gonna tie all of that stuff back in a little bit, but that's perspective. We gotta shift it, right? And so let's move on to mindset. Okay, and we're gonna call this part of the segment renewing our mindsets. Okay, so A renewed mindset challenges what was once normalized. So those things that we used to talk about, like, oh, that's just such and so, or oh, that's just what happened around them parts, or oh, those things that we normalize and we just kind of bet our hand at, those are the things that we really have to start to challenge, right? That's what the renewed mindset is, right? That helps us to stop seeing ourselves through the eyes of our past and start viewing ourselves through the lenses of our purpose. What is your purpose, roommate? What do you believe your purpose is in life? And so our mindsets determines what are we settling for. Now, yeah, it's 2025. The last time I checked my stats on these platforms, that the average age of a roommate, and I'm about to tell y'all age. The average age of a roommate is between the ages of 39 and 55. So I love y'all. I'm right up in there with y'all, okay? So that means if I wasn't hosting, I'd be watching, okay? So keep on watching, roommates. So our average age, we big age. We big age, okay? And so what this is telling us is that it helps us. Nobody is exempt. No one is exempt from the things that are going on in life. None of us are exempt, right? And so, Tasha, I'm going to get to you in one moment. And so the mindsets determine what we settle for. We got to be extremely careful with limiting our thinking, right? Because we will also limit our lives. We'll also limit the purpose on our lives when we are limiting our thinking. I'm going to tell you guys just like this. I ain't where I used to be, but I ain't where I'm going either. Like, I ain't got that. And the fact of the matter is, I don't care where you are on your journey. First of all, no competing, no comparing. Y'all know we don't do that, okay? So my thing is this. No matter where we are on our journey, there is always a spectrum on where it is a spectrum, but where are we on that spectrum, right? I'm not where I used to be, but I'm definitely not where I want to be. Okay, and that goes for spiritually, that goes for emotionally, that goes for professionally. We should be growing as long as we're living. And then what's my favorite thing to say? We should be growing and changing. Because if we ain't changing, we ain't growing. And if we ain't growing, we ain't changing. So they go hand in hand. We really should be doing both. Okay? And so Tasha is saying we have to learn to break generational curses. Things that was once okay is no longer okay. Where's the ding, ding, ding? Where's the bell? Somebody put the bell in the chat. Things we once, what's the song? Places I used to go, I don't go nowhere more. Things I used to do, I don't do no more. And that's fine, roommates. I don't want us, and we're about to get into environment. I don't want us to get hung up on our environments, because environments should be changing too, especially if it's not conducive to your growth and to your mindset and to your shifts and your changes and how you're trying to grow in perspective and the way that you view things. Okay? And so, thank you, Bestie. And so, yes, that's what we have to learn to do. We have to learn to grow with these growing and changing times. All right? And so, let's stop limiting our thinking. When we shift our mindsets from, I just said this, why is this happening to me? Guess where it goes to? What is this preparing me for? What am I being prepared for? Y'all, let me tell y'all the true story. So, a few years ago, I was, about 10 years ago, I really couldn't. That Bible was beating my butt trying to interpret it. You know, I can read the words, but just trying to interpret it and really understand it for what it really is. And so I joined this Christian Development Institute, and because I wanted to know and I wanted to learn the Bible Period. There's nothing that comes behind that. And so I went and I learned it it was at church, but we called it Christian Development Institute. It's at my church, okay? And so it was like a 14, 16 week course, okay? And I came up out of there so much more knowledgeable. And a couple years ago, my brother, my sister-in-law, and we used to do Bible study every single night, okay? 7 days a week. And in doing that, you know, it was like I was the teacher, because I was the one who had went through the institute, and I just knew it a little bit better than them. Not that much more. I knew it a little bit better than them. But some of them stories had really resonated with me, right? And so when I think about all of this and mindset shifts, I'm just reminded that, you know, we cannot have a new life with the old mindset. Ain't no rocket science over here. There's no rocket science, guys. Like, I'm either speaking theory, I'm speaking real life experience, or I'm speaking Bible. Okay? And my experience is my experience. Don't take my experience as your experience, okay? Because we all have different ones, okay? But those are the three lenses that I come from. Life, living life, you know, the experiences of life, theory and theorists, and Bible, okay? And so I learned that we cannot have a new life with our old mindsets. But I'll tell you, even with that too, guys, we have to, we have to embrace transformation and change. It does not come easy. There's so many negative things that can come at us at any given moment, that we really honestly can lose sight of ourselves in all of that. And so it is absolutely essential, roommates, that we are at minimum keeping a level head and a mindset that teeters on the positive side of things. Because externally we're gonna get enough we're gonna get more than enough negative things, hateful things, you know, spiteful things thrown our way, right? And so we got to be real careful with the way we internalize and have the mindset be what we need it to be in order to grow, transition, and transform. Okay? Good evening, lovely Dorian. How are you? And so transformation doesn't start when things around us get better. It starts when we start to think better. It makes me think about when it's altar call at church, and our pastor is telling you, come and give your life to the Lord. You don't have to be perfect. First of all, perfection doesn't exist, right? It doesn't exist. But then second of all, we have to be extremely, extremely careful with how it is that we are, as we are transforming, that we don't have to wait until things are great in our lives. You can start right where you are, right? And so the renewing of the mind means replacing any lies with truths, right? And that can start from within yourself. Understanding even mistakes that we may have made and getting right with that, making right with that. And just doing the things that you may not be able to experience outside of yourself, but you start where you can, which is inside of yourself. And then you will start to implode, right, inside out. You will start to implode those things that you feel on the inside. You will start to exhibit that on the outside. So if you feel, peaceful, if you feel, joyful, if you feel productive, it doesn't even have to be a feeling of just emotions. It can be a feeling of, again, things like productivity and stuff like that. So you want to be able to renew your mind by replacing old habits with new ones, right? And so environment is coming up next. But when we start thinking differently, we start choosing differently, roommates. And essentially what that means is that we begin to live our lives and move into other untouched territory, right? Or even uncharted territory, right? We start to do things outside of our environments that may not be supported. Because if you stand behind the things, if you stand behind how you want to feel, how you want to be made to be feel, how you want to shift your mindset, if you stand in that, it's only so many external things that is going to affect you. It's only so many external things that are going to affect you. I have to be honest with you all and also with myself. I used to care about, silly old me. I used to care about what people thought about me, what, I don't have that mindset no more, right? Because what a person feels about you is none of your business. Because people are going to make up their mind whether they like you or not. And a lot of times it is not based on something that you've actually done to them. I'm going to tell you what I do. I'm not going to lie. And there's some roommates that can attest to what I'm saying. If someone comes to me about something that anybody said, or something that someone did, whether it's to them or even towards me, I am a person that redirects, right? And I redirect with the hope that a person can have a different perspective or either a renewed mindset around it. And I like to ask questions like, well, why do you think that person reacted like that? Or why do you think, again, you don't take ownership of what a person has done, but what I intend to do is have a person to think about maybe what did I play a role in how that person moved differently against me. Now, sometimes those charges that's brought up against you, it comes back void because a person don't have a leg to stand on. Another thing I'm good at asking a person is like, oh, really? Well, what did that person do to you? Or when did y'all get into it? What was the falling out about? Again, you're giving it back to the person so the person hopefully can, not just make it look favorable for them, but they can give you a clear picture so that you have an understanding. And I tell you this, roommates, don't take one side or another. Because what we ain't doing, what I'm not doing, what you shouldn't be doing at this big old age is sitting up, taking sides and keep it up mess. We just shouldn't be doing that. Right? Especially, I see so many of my roommates online, and they're saying things like, not all of them are my roommates, but some of my Facebook friends and stuff, and then also some of my roommates. And I'll see, on one side of things, they're, maybe talking about God and faith or inspirational quotes and stuff like that. And then on the other hand, they just screwing all type of hatred and stuff like that. You got to be careful. You have to be extremely careful when you are dealing in things with people like that. Now, I'm not saying don't be okay with them, don't be cool with them, but you have to learn how to set boundaries so that you don't get caught up in that web of mess. Okay, we have to be extremely careful about how we navigate in the things that go on around us, all right? And so this is the perfect segue into changing our environments. Y'all ready? Hey, y'all. Good evening. Hi, Sister Dolores. I called you earlier. Hey, y'all. This is good. Okay. And so I hope I'm not missing. Hey, Sean. I hope Mama, that's her name. I hope I'm not missing y'all comments. I do see some, but I'm over here preaching and teaching, child. Okay. And so let's talk about changing our environments. Let's be real. Let's be real. We cannot heal in the same places that broke us. That may not be 100% but it's a big old percentage. Especially if people have not held themselves accountable in doing the break-in, or want to hold you at a space, in a place where they feel like you shouldn't grow, or they use your growth and the changing of your mindset against you. Let me tell you something, roommates. You should not be the same person you was last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. If a person tries to tell you anything about me, they have an old version of me. And that is what you should be able to live in when you are changing environments. An environment is not always a place. Mindset is included in that. Your environment, everything should be reshaped and renewed, just done in a different type of way, okay? And so it's hard for us to heal in those places that has broken us. Also, it's hard to grow in environments that celebrates confusion and discourages evolution. Now, y'all done made me lean in. Roommates, do not get comfortable ever in toxic environments. In fact, you need to be running to the nearest exit, because those places and those people that operate in confusion and toxicity and in spaces that is not conducive for change and growth are environments that you need to be raising your eyebrow to, and you need to be headed to the nearest exit. Okay? And so I need you guys to be mindful of that. I just told you a moment ago that environment is not just physical. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's relational. If your relationships are not growing, how then are they suiting you? Okay? What is it that you are drawing from? We should be able to draw unto thee. We should be able to draw something from every situation, every person that we in. But now we're talking about the environment. Let me tell you something. Run for the nearest exit. Hey, Crystal and Kalila, love you girls. And so, it's the convert. Let me tell you about the environment. Remember, we just said the environment is not just emotional. It's not just spiritual. It's also relational, right? It's not just those things, right? It's also the conversations that we entertain. Are you the person that someone can call with mess and gossip and that's the lane that you're always in, and the relationship lacks any type of accountability, it lacks any type of substance? I don't know about you, but those type of relationships, those are old for me. I can't, okay? The content that we consume, my best friend will tell you, don't send me no video of nobody getting shot down, unalived, bang, bang, shoot. I don't want to see it. I lived that already. I lived that in real life. We have to be extremely careful what we consume, because we all one circumstance away from losing it, from really losing it. So we have to be extremely careful there, okay? And the company that we keep, that's your environment. The company that you keep, that's your environment. What does your company say about you, roommates? Is your company an environment that is conducive to change, that encourages change, that holds you accountable? Does the company that you keep help you grow? Does the company that you keep you stirred up in mess? And then decisive situations, divisive, the divide of. Your company, the company that you keep, says everything I need to know about you. And so that mindset is what is my intellectual property. I own it. No one can take it from me. Roommates, the same thing goes for you. You own your intellectual property. No one can take it from you. And so we all know what environments can yield and what they can't yield. Some environments keep us stuck, not because of the lack of potential, but because they feed our comfort zones. I'm the best accountability partner to have. In the gym, sister, don't I call you on the bike 3 days a week? In the gym, you say you want a new job, you sick of them people on your job. I'm like, did you update your resume? Did you apply for some new jobs? I'm sending you job links. You know, get you an accountability partner. The environment can only keep you stuck if everybody in it is just swampy. Be very careful in that environment. Okay? If our surroundings do not speak life into us, okay, we will start to wither no matter how hard we're trying to grow. No matter how hard we try to grow, we will. Here's the thing. We're going to either wither or hinder. Come on, let's talk about it. Our environments are either going to hinder us into staying exactly how we are, don't require much of us. It's allow the comfortability to remain what the comfortability is, okay? But also, our environment can it can wither us out. It can drown us out, right? Because when you are in an environment that lacks support, that lacks encouragement, you learn to survive in that. You know, if like when I went to school, when I went to college, it was not a lot of people going to college where I came from. And so that was not the norm in my environment. Okay? In fact, I was a part of the first generation of people in my family to start to get degrees. I wasn't the first person, but I was in the top 5, probably the top 3. Okay? I say that to say that because sometimes it's not that people don't support you. Sometimes people don't know how to support you. So a lot of times when I was doing things college related, I had to go to people who were in college, and I had to do things at the college so that I can get the proper support that I needed, right, for me to be able to thrive. You know, because I needed to be surrounded by like-minded people. Again, this is real life. This is they didn't go to college, they ain't nothing. This is none of that. Throw it out the window. This is me saying that in our environments, we will either take the charge to stand up and stand behind the things that we're looking to do, or we can wither away because of the lack of support. Okay? And so we got to be careful, again, about our environment. My sister Dolores Bailey is saying, bad company corrupts good manners. Okay? Bad company corrupts good manners. Because, see, we got to keep up with the mess. If we running with a messy crowd, how likely is it that we didn't talk, I done talked about you so bad with my crowd. Of course, when one of your posts come up, I ain't gonna like it because y'all been sitting behind closed doors talking about me. So you cannot publicly show no love or publicly show no support. Okay? And so, yes, My sister Danielle, adore her conversations, has entered the chat. Hey, sister. The people you associate with have a significant influence on your future success, your mindset, and your behavior. Tasha, I'm going to need you to come sit in this stool next to me. Speaking of that, because we go in the closing segment in a minute, guys. A lot of my roommates have been asking me to cover certain topics. You guessed it, tonight was one of those ones about, changing the mindset, changing even when it's difficult to change, right? And so, roommates, I'm going to tell y'all this. I'm going to put y'all on blast. If you DM me, and I want you to DM me, please, or call me if you got my number. DM me, call me, give me a topic to talk about, but I would love to do panels. I would love to have conversations as a group of us. And so keep that in mind. I love you all. I suck at doing the hearts with the finger. Okay, this is better. Oh, that's cute. Okay, I love it. All right, and so good company corrupt. Yeah, and so changing our environment doesn't mean walking away with anger. Sometimes we're walking away with awareness, y'all. To be aware is to be alive. Okay? To be aware is to be alive. We talk about the people with their head on the swivel. Baby, our heads and our hearts need to be on the swivel. Because we're so easily influenced by external noise and what people are doing, and if people are clapping for us. Stop that. Stop giving yourself high blood pressure. We are at that age. Stop. When we know better, we do better. And so we got to be very careful with allowing people to superimpose their stuff on us. Because I can be cool with you, but I'm not letting you turn me against nobody. Nobody. No, you're not turning me against nobody. I'm not 14. Okay? So, because we change our environment, we ain't walking away mad. We walking away with pride. We walking away with awareness. And that is saying that I'm becoming the person that I'm destined to be. If I would have stayed around certain people, places, and things, I wouldn't be doing rumor has it. I'm just gonna be honest. My mind wasn't even on rumor has it when I was just outside. When I was outside, like outside, I'll still be outside. Y'all know that. But outside, baby, my rumor has it wasn't nowhere in it's always been in the plan because it's God's plan. Don't y'all forget that. But the vision, I hadn't gotten it. I tell you guys all the time that I have been in isolation. And I know you guys like, girl, we just seen you at that fashion show. Girl, we just seen you at X, Y, and Z. Yes, that's true. But y'all got to remember, I'm also a stylist. And so being in those rooms are networking opportunities for me. Again, remember I opened up with, I ain't where I used to be, but I ain't where I'm going either. Okay? And so I still got a network. Our network is our net worth. And so when I'm surrounding myself with, people who are rich, and that means from rich to wealthy, because, man, God has put me in some rooms that I never could fathom. That I thought myself, I never thought about getting into them, believe it or not. I got confidence on so many levels, but some things I just couldn't fathom. And it's just showing me how great God is, okay? So you gotta be aware, okay? And guess what? Growth will often, most likely, cost us comfort. Because comfort doesn't create change. Comfort do not create change. The Bible speaks about complacency. That's when you right here and you okay with staying right here. I'm sorry, guys. Yo, baby. My mind be going a million miles an hour. I'm always thinking of what am I doing next? Because my goal in this life and my purpose in this life, we talked about that a little while ago. I realized that my purpose in this life is to leave legacy. Do y'all know? I have almost 100 videos in a year's time out here. And that'll be out here forever, because that's the legacy that God has bestowed upon me. Since we started over a year ago, across all platforms, we have gotten over 1 million views. And we ain't done yet, because we're going to start getting 1 million views in short spans. But I'm just talking about all the videos, all the time, over the year's time. And so, y'all keep me on your prayer list, especially if you got good intentions towards me. Keep me in your prayers. You know, I'm sitting on a gold mine. And I'm thankful. And listen, baby, I can't do nothing. I can't do nothing without things. Okay, so now I was telling y'all about the Bible. And so the Bible got some of the coldest stories that you will ever in your life read. So you want to read a cold book, you need to be picking up the Bible. And so in our environment, we have to understand that we cannot grow on toxic soil, right? We cannot grow on toxic soil. And what that means is that we are not healing in environments that keep reopening the wounds that was created in those environments. Those wounds may not be physical. Those wounds can be that mindset that is refusing to change. That heart that has hardened. And the Bible tells us that we shouldn't harden our hearts. No matter what the circumstances are, we ought to stay the course. We ought to keep our eyes focused on him. And with that, we will be able to overcome anything. He didn't say that the weapons wouldn't form. He said that they wouldn't prosper. Okay? So the hatred that you feel coming your way, it's a weapon, but it will not prosper. Okay? The clarity that you need, okay, and it feels like dysfunction and confusion, it's a weapon. Okay? But it shall not prosper. All right? And so I'm going to give you guys a few examples that comes from the Bible where, you know, many of our, that people from the Bible, their environments had to change, roommates, in order for them to become great. Okay? Y'all hear me? Y'all hear me? Okay. So, if every time you leave a certain person and you feel drained, defeated, or diminished, then know that that's not love, that's limitation. All right? If your workplace feeds you a paycheck, but it starves your peace, it's time for you to position yourself and not worry about permanence. You don't want to be on a job that's causing you strife, roommates, and ain't looking to get up out of there. What are we doing at all times? We are planning our escape route out of situations, out of environments, out of mindsets that no longer suits us. Okay? So, let me give y'all some biblical examples. Okay, so Abraham, right? Abraham in Genesis. God told him he had to leave. He had to leave his country, his people, his father's household, and the land in order for him to be able to see anything. After God removed Abraham from that environment and from all of those familiar things, blessings came from the relocation, both spiritually and physically. Okay? And so we have to be, what this reminds us is, if our environment has us stuck and we want to go to the next level, we have to shift the environment. And again, it's not the physical home. It's not the physical community. It's the mindset that's associated with the environment. If it's toxic and dysfunctional, find ways to positively affirm ourselves with doing and being better. Okay? And once we, what did we just say a moment ago? Once we can see those things a little bit better, that's living life in more abundance. Okay? And so we have to be careful about perspective, which changes how we see our lives, and mindset, which changes how we think about our lives. Right? We tag all this stuff together now. Right? Perspective changes how we see life. Mindset changes how we think about life. Environment changes, y'all ready, roommates? Environment changes what we experience in life. These last 5 years of living for me has been some of the best years of my life. Because my mindset, my perspective, and my environment has shifted. And no one can take me back to the old mindset. No one can take me back to the old perspective. No one can take me back to the old environment. I am the environment. The environment lives within me. The environment lives within you, roommates. Okay? And so, though we cannot fix everything, right, we eventually have to address everything. Even if, we're not talking about go and be confrontational. We're not talking about go and get out of character. No. We're saying sit in it, assess it, and address it appropriately and effectively. Okay? And so, an example of perspective building, right, is going from the mindset of I'm trapped and I cannot change this to a mindset of I am learning from this and I am growing from this. Okay? So stand in it. Be adamant about this situation is not going to get me down. This environment is not going to get me down. This mindset is going to shift. Okay? And so we have to do that. So let's talk a little bit about, and I promise you, we got 3 minutes. What my pastor say, 6 minutes, Dougie Fresh on. Y'all got about 5 to 6 minutes left for me, and I'm about this joy, okay? And so throughout Scripture, again, there's these major faith and perspective moments, right? Big major moves that God made that began with changing environments, mindsets, and perspectives. Okay, so I just gave y'all Abraham. He had to leave his familiar surroundings before God would bless him. Remember last week, y'all, we talked about Joseph. And Joseph was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, went to the palace as a, he had favor. He had favor. Okay, so he was a person that worked in the field, but he had favor with the king. And so he had access to the wife. The wife wanted Joseph, y'all. Okay? And so she set him up and said he tried to take her because he wouldn't have her. Okay? And I'll catch that on your way home. All right? And so that was the king's wife. So they didn't kill him, but they threw him on in the penitentiary. Okay? And in prison, this very thing. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. The very thing that his brothers wanted to do away with him for, which was interpreting dreams, which was his gift. Okay? The very thing that the enemy wanted to use for bad, but God used for good. When Joseph landed in that jail, now that Joseph had multiple environments. He lived with his family. He went to the pit. He went into slavery. He got close to the king. He went to jail after falsely being accused. Y'all got to stop falsely accusing folks and stuff too, roommates. I didn't say that. After he was falsely accused, he was the very thing that the enemy meant for bad. God used it for good. He was known for reading these dreams. And the king, Pharaoh, kept dreaming these dreams. And nobody around him could interpret them. And the guard at the jail, who was also a guard at the palace, said, well, Joseph knows how to interpret dreams. And eventually, Joseph was freed for the same gift that he was persecuted for. Okay? He was promoted. He was positioned when he was in the jail. He was positioned when he was in the pit. He was positioned when he was sold into slavery. But he was promoted, y'all. He was promoted. The very thing that the enemy meant for bad, God used it for good and promoted him straight up to the top of the kingdom. He eventually became the king. Y'all better watch how y'all do people. Okay? Y'all got to be very careful with that. And even Jesus, we can't forget about Jesus. He had to withdraw to the quiet places to regain clarity and strength to carry his cross to his untimely death. When I say that I'm in isolation, this ties right back into that. When I say that I'm in isolation, guys, I withdraw from everything and everybody. And I go into quiet places with God. I ask for clarity. I ask for strength. I ask for favor in those quiet places. Okay? And so, yes, you see me at the fashion show. I was there. I was. Ain't no lies detected. But you don't see me in the places you used to see me at. Because some places and environments no longer suit my growth, suit my vision, suit my purpose. Okay? All right. And so, Tasha, I thank God for using me. I thank God for using me because, baby, there ain't nobody but him. 10 years ago, you'd have asked me some of this, I'd been looking half crazy. Okay? All right. So God never transforms anyone while they're clinging on to the old version of themselves. Roommates, let it go. We got to let it go. We have to be willing to let go of the old thinking, the old patterns, the old habits, and yes, even those people who are set in some of those ways that is no longer suiting our growth or encouraging, right? Supporting the growth. All right? And so when it's time to step into something new, those are the things that we have to do. All right? So when God changes our perspective, roommates, he gives us peace that doesn't make sense to it. As long as it makes sense to you, that is what matters. Right? Hey, cousin, love you. Hey, drill sergeant. That's my girl there. Hey, twin. And so, roommates, suddenly let me tell you what happens when God changes our perspective and he gives us peace. Because what the Bible says, we will experience peace that is beyond our own understanding. Right? It surpasses our own understanding. We don't even know how we got peace in the middle of the hurricane. How, Sway? Okay? God. All right? And so suddenly, y'all, we stop fighting for closure. When it's always over. We don't need no explanation. Okay? And we start living from an understanding instead of from a place of emotion. Emotions don't live here no more. That's it. It's done. I mean, of course, we still have emotion. You know, I'm an emotional person, but I'm not at that place where it defines me or what you think about me is going to sway my emotional well-being, okay? And so, roommates, I'm going to ask you this, and then I'm going into closing segment, all right? What mental habits or self-talk patterns do you need to unlearn and relearn? What mental habits and self-talk patterns do you need to unlearn and relearn, okay, in order for you to grow? All right? And so I gave you guys all of that good stuff, and now we go into the closing segment. All right? Let me look at some of y'all comments because y'all been on here cutting up, okay? Let me see. I love y'all. Y'allthebomb.com. Okay? Thank you, Lord. Glory. Hallelujah. Yes, we have to let go and let God have his way, sister. Jesus, you preach it. All right, let's go to our closing segment, roommates. We have made it to the end of another episode. All right. Change doesn't always start big. Sometimes it starts with a thought. Okay? A single moment of saying, I refuse to keep seeing my life through the lens of limitation. Okay? Because when perspective changes, so does our mindsets. When our mindset shifts, our environment will either rise to meet us. When our environment shifts, our environment will either rise to meet us or it will fall away because it can't handle our growth. I thank God for where I'm at today because it's leaps and bounds from where I was. External validation shouldn't be in your repertoire when you're trying to grow or when you're dedicated to growing. Do not have your happiness, your growth, your joy, your peace be contingent on what someone says about you, what someone thinks about you, how someone is spreading rumors about you and causing all type of havoc, or what they believe is havoc in your life. Be very careful how much leeway you give people in your life, okay, in your home. All right. When our perspective changes, we just said it, our mindset follows. We should not fear transformation, because transformation evokes healing. And when we are on the healing journey, this is what I tell you guys already. I mean, all the time, not already, all the time. Healing is a journey. Just like all of the hurt and the pain that you went through, you have to unlearn those things. You have to make sure your mind is not matching that stuff no more. Right? And so as we're transforming, we should be healing. And as we're healing, we are becoming. We are becoming better versions of ourselves. We are becoming better friends. We're becoming better siblings. We're becoming better partners with in business, with our significant others. We are, listen, you don't surround yourself with anybody that does not add value to your life. I said it. Do not do it to yourself. Gonna find yourself on a hamster wheel, because it doesn't mean you no good. So today, we're giving ourselves permission to change the way we see it, the way we think it, and the way we want to live it. Because changing our environment and our mindsets are rooted in a renowned or renewed perspective. So, when that changes, you won't have to change your life. Your life will change you. Your life will change you. Okay? Hello. Sharon, what you say? Being hard on yourself and holding on to grudges. Yes, that's to the question I just asked a moment ago about the mindset. What is something that's holding you back? Being hard on yourself and holding grudges. Holding grudges is equivalent to, unforgiveness. And y'all know what I feel about forgiveness, because forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. So we have to forgive people even if they don't ask for forgiveness. And again, all of that happens on your journey of healing. Healing is a journey. It is a journey. Okay? And so we're giving ourselves permissions to evolve, change our perspective so that our peace can expand. Roommates, I want us to change our mindsets so that our confidence can grow, okay? So that we can flourish in and outside of those environments that try to hold us back. Because when mindset, perspective, and environment all aligns, roommates, your life will never be the same. It would change for the better. Well, we have come to the close of another episode, and I'm going to close us out with the same Bible verse that I started us with. And it comes to us from Romans 12:2. And it reminds us that, and I'm getting to it, y'all. Let me get to it. This has been so great. How are you guys feeling? I feel amazing. Okay, actually, I'm gonna switch it up. Okay, I'm gonna go actually from the power perspective. I'm gonna give a Bible verse on that. Okay, so it's gonna come to us from 2 Corinthians 4:18, and it tells us, "So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." Roommates, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all are my road dogs, okay? Have a good evening. Have a good rest of your week. Enjoy life on purpose. I love you all. Good night.